Inderuari shkelësia e tij Boris Johnson, deputeti Parlamentit, ministër I punëve të jashtme dhe I Commonwealthit të Mbretërisë së Bashkuar. Të nderuar deputet të Kuvendit të Republikës së Kosovës, I nderuari kryeministër I Republikës së Kosovës, zotri Isa Mustafa, të nderuar zëvendës kryeministra dhe ministra të kabinetit qeveritar, I nderuari ambasadori Shteteve të Bashkuara të Amerikës, zotri Greg Dalavi, I nderuara përfaqësuese e Bashkimit Evropian Zonja Natali Apostolova, të nderuar ambasador dhe përfaqësues të zyreve diplomatike në Republikën e Kosovës, të nderuar qytetarë të Republikës së Kosovës, të nderuar të pranishëm në këtë seancë solemne. E hapi seancën e Kuvendit të Republikës së Kosovës, të thirrur me rastin e vizitës e ministrit të jashtëm të Mbretërisë së Bashkuar, shkelësisë së tij Boris Johnson, me rendite. Adresimi I shkelësisë së tij, zotri Boris Johnson, deputet I Parlamentit, ministri I punëve të jashtme dhe I Commonwealthit të Mbretërisë së Bashkuar. Sot, Kuvendi I Kosovës është mbledhur në këtë seancë të veçantë për nder të sekretarit të Shtetit për Punë të Jashtme të Britanisë së Madhe, zotri Boris Johnson. I nderuari zotri sekretar Johnson, mirë se keni ardhur në Kuvendin e Republikës së Kosovës. Vizita juaj në Kosovë shprehje e marrëdhënieve shumë të mira që janë ndërtuar në mes dy vendeve tona. Është shprehje e përkushtimit të vazhdueshëm të Britanisë së Madhe për të ndihmuar Republikën e Kosovës. Britania e Madhe ka qenë gjithmonë pranë Kosovës. Emri I saj është I lidhur në mënyrë të pandashme me historinë e lirisë dhe pavarësisë sonë. Populli I Kosovës, ne përfaqësuesit e tij, do t'ju jemi gjithmonë mirënjohës shtetit tuaj. I nderuari sekretar Johnson, ne sot në Kosovë jemi duke ndërtuar një shtet dhe shoqëri të frymëzuar nga vlerat themelore të shtetit dhe popullit britanik. Demokracia liberale, ekonomia e lirë e tregut, shoqëria e hapur, sundimi I ligjit, liritë dhe të drejtat e njeriut. Të përkushtuar në këto vlera, ne jemi të vendosur të thellojmë miqësinë dhe bashkëpunimin me shtetin tuaj. Vizita juaj e sotme në Kosovë, mesazhet e juaja, projekti që do të lansoni ju sot janë fuqisim, domethënës I këtij bashkëpunimi. Duke ju falenderuar edhe një herë për prezencën tuaj në Kuvendin e Republikës Kosovës, shkelësia juaj ju ftoj që të merrni fjalën. Please, Mr. Secretary. Your floor. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the honour and honourable members of the Kosovo Assembly. It's a great honour that you have done me in inviting me to address you this morning, and it's an astonishing experience for me to be here in Pristina in a free, independent assembly in Europe's youngest democracy, because 17 years ago I was here in Pristina. In fact, that was the last time, I'm afraid to say, my friends, that I was here. And I saw a very different city in those days. And I was there when the British Army, the Guards, came up the Kachanik Pass. I saw them come in, and I remember seeing the joy on the faces of the Kosovar villagers and how they threw roses in the path of the British armoured vehicles. So actually, they threw quite large bunches of roses sometimes. I was a bit worried they were going to hit the tanks or hit the soldiers, but they were overwhelmed with joy. And I remember seeing the burning mosques and the villages that were torched, sometimes razed almost to the ground by the retreating forces. And I also remember the expressions of blank shock on the faces of the refugees who were going in great columns of tractors and carts away from their ancestral farms, in many cases never to return. And I wondered then, looking at Pristina, what the future would hold for this ancient and beautiful country, and what kind of government and society we were helping to create, because we in NATO unquestionably were helping to create a new society and a new country. And I remember wondering whether we had got it right, and whether we could really hope that out of such pain and such suffering, a functioning democracy could be born. And here is your answer to that question. It's a land transformed, with Kosovo's people in control of your destiny, with elected representatives sitting here in this assembly. And outside in Pristina, we have a vibrant and secular society. And at a time when the values that I think we share, of a belief in democracy and in freedom and in pluralism, when those values are by no means uncontested around the world, I think that Kosovo can be a powerful and shining example to others of what can be achieved. And so, of course, I am proud that Britain was one of the first countries to recognize Kosovo's independence in 2008. We were allies then, and we are allies now. And so, in a spirit of friendship and the candor that comes with friendship, I hope you will allow me to offer a few thoughts about Kosovo today. Because you are an independent country, recognized now, as your foreign minister was just telling me, by 112 other nations. And that means a wonderful thing. You're responsible now for your own affairs, Prime Minister Mustafa. And that means the duty to serve your people rests on your shoulders. And the consequences that flow from that reality are momentous and challenging. And like many other political systems, yours must also continually adapt and improve. And the process of reform in Kosovo, I think we'd all agree, cannot be allowed to stagnate. And rather than being machines for power and patronage, I hope we agree that political parties should strive to serve the interests of every citizen. And the people have an obligation, and of course a right, to demand more from their elected representatives, and the people have a right to hold us, elected representatives, to account. And I know that you're like me in that you talk to your voters about their worries. And I'm sure that amongst their concerns, they have how hard it can be, frankly, to get a job today in Kosovo unless you have the proper connections. Appointing people on merit means that if you're a student and you work hard, you have a chance of getting a decent job. And you won't be pushed aside, you won't be elbowed aside by some lazy candidate who hasn't studied at all and who is lucky enough to have better connections than you. That's fair. And I'm glad that Britain is helping to combat the scourge of nepotism with a British embassy project launched recently with the public support of you, Sir, Mr. Prime Minister, and you as well, Mr. Speaker. I'm also pleased that commercial links between our two countries are developing well. There was a very successful conference in London only last week to promote British investment in Kosovo, and that was the first chance I had to meet Prime Minister Mustafa. And we strongly support economic development and job creation in Kosovo. And I'm very disappointed, by the way, that there is no snow, because I can assure you that otherwise I would have been up on the Brezovica slopes to show my solidarity with the Kosovo ski industry, which I believe must play a vital part in your future. And Britain wants to work alongside Kosovo as a partner, and there's a lot we can do together. We have a joint struggle against terrorism, against violent extremism, against corruption and organized crime. And we need to fight these threats together. In the UK, for instance, we have a particular problem with ethnic Albanian crime gangs, and we want to work harder with you, with our friends in the region, to combat this scourge. And when we speak of the wider region, Britain wants Kosovo to be a force for peace and stability in the whole Western Balkans, and that must include achieving a normal relationship with Serbia, and I'm looking forward to discussing those issues in Belgrade as well. I understand, because I was there and I saw it, that the past is full of such pain and such grievance that no society can be expected to sweep those memories easily aside. But Kosovo and Serbia share a vital interest in a normal relationship. And I know that it will take political courage and visionary leadership, but I have no doubt that it can be achieved. And it will also require a sincere attempt to resolve the wrongs of the past. It should be uncontroversial to say that all those guilty of war crimes on all sides should be locked up. And I would say the same thing in Belgrade, but that's why, and across the whole of the Balkans, and that's why cooperating with the Special Court for war crimes is so important for Kosovo, however difficult this may be. Britain and other international partners will be watching the work of the Special Court very closely. I would like, by the way, to take this opportunity to extend my condolences to the family and friends of Astrid Dehari, who recently died in custody. I endorse the calls made by all sides for a transparent investigation into his death. I want to repeat, I say all this, and I deliver these messages in a spirit of friendship and of great humility in view of everything that you have achieved since you gained your independence. And I just want to close by repeating what I said at the beginning. It is wonderful to see Pristina today, to drive through a city absolutely transformed from the smashed windows that I remember in 1999. A place now buzzy with restaurants and all kinds of attractions. A young country, a country I think where we rejoice. At least 8 young people in this country rejoice in the name of Tony Blair, which is something my countrymen find quite extraordinary, but a young, dynamic country with so much going for it, so much going for this place. Olympic gold-winning athletes from Kosovo, tech startup entrepreneurs with links into what's going on in London, Kosovo pop stars who top the charts even in my country, and world-class footballers, and of course a beautiful, beautiful country, a fertile country whose tourist potential is, I think, only just beginning. Tourist potential is only just beginning to be realized. And listen, whether you view this as positive or negative, my friends, the day is not far off when the British will be coming with their stag parties and their desire for attractive villa holidays. And I think it would be a great thing. And of course you face challenges. Which country doesn't face challenges? But I'm also sure that you can meet those challenges, and in a way that seemed completely improbable and unlikely 17 years ago. I am sure today, looking at what you have achieved, that you can have a truly great future. And above all, in achieving that great future for Kosovo, and in realizing the potential of this country, I want to assure you that you have friends and supporters in the United Kingdom. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Në emër të deputetëve të Kuvendit të Republikës Kosovës dhe në emrin tim personale falenderojmë Ministrin e Punëve të Jashtme të Mbretërisë së Bashkuar, shkelësinë e tij Boris Johnson për fjalën e rastit. Të nderuar kolegë deputet, me kaq përfundojmë seancën tonë solemne. Faleminderit shumë, mirupafshim.